Welcome back to the Google Report. Been a long time since I've done one of these top 10s on here. Of course, right now I'm doing a series off and on of special vlogs involving survival kits and some of the items you can get and where you can find these things for reasonable price ranges. Plus, eventually I'll be doing a special vlog showing the survival kit I'm personally building, with parts from that and as well as from other items here and there, like getting freeze-dried food and things like that, which has very good shelf life. Most of it is good, like almost a decade or more, so quite good shelf life. With that said, this is looking as that the CW may not exist much longer. I thought I'd do a special top 10 looking back at 10 shows that I personally really enjoyed from two different eras. Back in the era when it was called WB and then known as the CW. So this is 10 personal favorite shows of mine from the combination of the WB and CW. First up, a few honorable mentions. Some are guilty pleasures that I liked when I was a teenager back years ago, but this is a few of them. First up, some of the older stuff done, sitcoms that were at one time on it. First, you have Sister Sister, which grew up watching, as well as another show which involved actually Tina and Tamara's younger brother, show called Smart Guy, honorable mention. Also, The Flash, which is okay. It's one of the more tolerable, more current era shows on the CW, though I'm not a big fan of CW nowadays. Most of this stuff is going to be earlier on. Also, I'm going to give an honorable mention only because it does have a nostalgia factor involved the first few seasons. Because when it first came on, I was much younger, so it had definitely some influence as a kid. That is Seventh Heaven. Looking back nowadays, though, I have very mixed feelings on the show. Coming at number 10, though, is a show most people never talk about, and it's actually a show that takes place in the universe of course, DC Comics. Based on a certain story, the main character ends up being the daughter of Batman and Catwoman. The show was called Birds of Prey. A very good show. I thought personally it was only around for like one season, but I personally enjoyed Birds of Prey. And I'm surprised more people don't talk when they talk about underrated shows or like comic book like type shows and stuff. I'm surprised at how often no one ever talks about Birds of Prey. But for me, it comes in 10th place. Coming in at ninth place is arguably a definite guilty pleasure of mine. I was a teenager when this show came out, and so I was at the right demographic age for the show. It was the teen drama I had. Some people had many other types of teen dramas and stuff. They had, like, watching stuff like Party of Five or things of that nature. Me, my teen drama coming in ninth place was, yes, a guilty pleasure. Even looking back today, I still have a weird fondness occasionally on the show. I have no clue why. Number 9 is Dawson's Creek. I don't know why. I guess it's because I actually liked some of the characters in the fact. It's interesting how, like, one or two actors I really like nowadays actually helped to start on actually that show, strangely enough. Coming at number 8 is a great show that I wish more people knew about. Unfortunately, they did a remake of sorts in recent era CW. This was WB though / UPN era, and this show was great, and I highly recommend if you get a chance. Coming at number 8 is the '90s Roswell series. If you've never seen the original Roswell that came out in the '90s, do yourself a favor and check out Roswell. It is a really good, I think, like teen, like supernatural science fiction type show that I think more people need to check. Coming at number 7 is a show that is actually at number 7 is a split, a tie. The only tie on the list. It's between, first, the only more recent era, like, comic book type show that I still liked. Though, arguably, I liked the show mostly from, like, season 1 to, like, season 4, the first half of the show. It kind of lost me after, but season 2 and 3 are the reason why it makes it on the list in this up to 7th place. That is Arrow. Arrow gets this high only because I love season 2 with Deathstroke, as well as, of course, season 3 with a certain Al Ghul character, which is why it comes in tied at 7. The other show it's tied with at 7 only had like one season, but I personally really enjoyed the show. I don't know why so many people hate on the show, but for me, tied at number 7 was the early 2000s attempted reboot of The Twilight Zone. Yes, I'm one of those people who actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed the new metal style opening for The Twilight Zone. Fun fact, that opening was done by Korn. Also, coming in at number 6 is arguably probably my favorite comedy or sitcom ever back on WB and stuff. At one time this was on WB, though it originally got started on TGIF on ABC. If you don't know about TGIF, look it up. Or maybe someday I'll do a sort of retrospective or look back at TGIF, which was a big part of my childhood. But coming in 6th place for me is a show I've always had as series, and I still occasionally go back and rewatch the show to this day. At number 6 is Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Love the show, always have. It's a great, family-friendly, supernatural show, I guess you could say. But it actually does have moral values, which you don't really have in shows nowadays. That's one of the things I miss about the 80s and 90s, and really 90s and going back. Very few shows nowadays actually have something I call actual values to it. Trying to teach good things about being a better person. Too bad. Sabrina was, I think, one of the last few genuine shows like that had actual family values, and it's sad it's gone from everything nowadays. Coming in at 5th place, the show has gone down a little bit over time, but it's still in the top 5, because it does have a nostalgia factor and one of the greatest TV show intros of all time, with great guitar work and everything. Coming at number 5 for me personally is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a show which has one of the most hardcore fan bases of any TV show I've ever seen, no matter what. And I know quite a few people who are uber fans of Buffy. But for me, there's a few shows I enjoyed more than Buffy, and for me personally, has aged better for me personally, though I still doesn't change the fact that I have all 7 seasons of Buffy. So it's a show I still occasionally go back to, and I do enjoy, specifically for characters like Spike, which obviously was based on Billy Idol. Coming at number 4 is a show for many years was in my top 3, if not like number 2, but its recent era has gone, it's dropped a little for me to 4th place, and that is, though, the original Charmed series, not that disgusting poor excuse garbage reboot, which I'm glad got cancelled. But, not to go on a rant tangent, but yes, Charmed is still a great show. It still comes in at number 4 for me. Though it has aged not the greatest over time. Plus, I'll be honest, as time has gone on and looking back, I realize the more and more I have come to actually dislike, for the most part, the character Alyssa Milano plays, Phoebe, is one of the characters I think has aged the worst, arguably, out of anyone from the show. As time goes on, I actually appreciate Prue more, strangely enough. With that said, coming at number 3 is a show that's aged very well for me personally, and it's a show I still have always enjoyed more than Buffy, the spinoff, still done by obviously Joss Whedon. But for me, coming at number 3, and it's pretty much always been in like my top 3 favorite shows from the network. And number 3 is Angel. which is a show that surprisingly has always stuck with me. I've always enjoyed every season. And one of the things I like about having HBO Max is at least I can go back and rewatch like Buffy, Angel, all that stuff. Coming in at number two is probably by far the youngest show up here on my list. And it's a show that I have really appreciated and became obsessed with over the years. I first discovered the show, I believe it was like during season 3 or season 4 when I started really checking out the show and I got hooked. And 11 years after that. Coming at number 2 for me is Supernatural. So, arguably, coming in at number 1, which has been number 1 since, well, since the 2000s, and it's never been dethroned. Favorite show of all time from the network is, of course, Smallville. And I don't foresee it ever being surpassed. At one time, Angel held the number 1 spot, then Smallville dethroned it, and has held the number 1 slot ever since. So I would say Smallville will never be dethroned as number 1, arguably because it has, in my opinion, the definitive versions of multiple characters. For me, as the character of Clark Kent, really like, honestly, Tom Welling's take on the Clark Kent character. Of course, Michael Rosenbaum, in my opinion, is the definitive Lex Luthor, and always will be. Also, the great interactions between him, and of course, obviously, also Lionel Luthor character. And we cannot forget, in my opinion, the greatest version of Jonathan Kent, done by, I believe it's Rob or whatever, from, of course, Lee, best well known in his earlier career, of course, known for Dukes of Hazzard. Never gone to the show though. But yes, Jonathan Kent, in my opinion, best Jonathan Kent period. No rival. I especially despise the Jonathan Kent of Man of Steel, I'll be honest. I hate that version of Jonathan Kent. I despise it. One of my biggest pet peeves with the Man of Steel film. But with that said, that is it, and I appreciate the tone and everything. They're showing a lot of the head nods to classic Christopher Reeve's era Superman, with the fact you had cameos from Reeves himself, as well as you had cameo from Dean Cain, as well as Terry Hatcher, and of course also Margot Kidder. But with that said, I'll see y'all next time. Stay safe. See you again on the Goku Report. Leave a comment below and tell me what's your personal favorite show from the different eras, the WB era and the CW era. But I'll see y'all again soon enough.